Funny times we live in. It's November 2024, almost December 2024. And amazing how the revelations are coming thick and fast in regards to cycles and what's going on in the world. The United States just had a selection, not an election, it's a selection, it's a uni party. It doesn't matter who's in the position of governance in that part of the world or any country per se, in my perception. I'm not alone on that one. It's just the selections, the puppets that are in place are only fulfilling a particular narrative and telling their voters, their supporters, what they want to hear. And funnily enough, with the nature of these cycles that are going on, and where I live in this part of the world, I'm in Kumeu, northwest Auckland, we're not really seeing the earth changes per se. There is the amount of earth changes, whether they've been piggybacked upon and manipulated or actually due to cycles, and that's debatable. People like David Dubine, Adapt 2030, is absolutely brilliant in exposing these cycles economically, financially, geophysically, weather changes, weather patterns, solar cycles, galactic cycles, all the cycles, all the work he does is brilliant. Adapt 2030, I'd recommend it. On YouTube, on Rumble and BitChute. But I find it fascinating as well in the fact that what's been given to me through revelation, through people I'm connecting with. My friend Joe Setterwell writes an article, writes a blog, and writes for a American tech magazine. Lives over in Puhoi, up on a farm in Puhoi, which is that way, the northeast of here, out in the east coast. A beautiful spot, absolutely fantastic spot where he lives, next to the ocean on the east coast, just north of Auckland. He lives in a caravan and writes from his caravan. But he writes for a tech magazine and he does a lot of research into what's going on and who are the big movers and shakers that have been supporting who will become the 47th president of the United States, Donald Trump. And if you look at what Trump is doing and the people that he's bringing into positions of governance in his cabinet, you see that there's a lot of people who are moving into those positions that have basically been pushing, are close to, and have been supported by massive. A lot of the supporters he has, let me put it this way, a lot of the supporters that Trump has in regards to his presidency and his administration, when his new administration coming up in 2025, are proponents of AI, are proponents of transhumanism, and proponents of also AI governance. And what does that mean? Does that mean that this is all speculation? Well, it's a speculation to a level, because the people that he's appointing into his cabinet, if they are allowed to become part of his administration due to the Senate voting on these people being a part of his administration and giving them the clearance to become part of his administration, these people are all pushing for a future where transhumanism and AI are a big part of the administration. And what that means is basically, from what I'm hearing from other people way smarter than I am who research this information, is that they're looking for AI to replace governance in the United States and have a complete overhaul of the system of the governance of the United States. And remember, the USA is in its Pluto return, 225 years, 225,000 years, 225 years. It's in its Pluto return. So, with this being what it is, it's a reformation, it's a rebirth, it's a death and a rebirth of the American system, of the American government. What does that mean for the American people and for the governance of the world? You can look at what's going on in China, and then you can say potentially there's a race between China and the USA moving forward in a way that AI will control the governance of those countries. To a large extent, AI is already doing that in China that we know of, right? So the Americans are catching up. The Americans want to catch up, and through the Donald Trump administration, there's a chance that the people, J.D. Vances, the Peter Thiels, the other billionaires, the Elon Musks of the administration, will move into places and move into positions. And don't forget this too, Trump's administration, if you look at it, he's hiring a lot of people that bought into the COVID hoax as well. And of course, Trump did as well, bought into the COVID hoax and brought out these shots, these medical interventions, shall we say, that have self-replicating nanotech in them, right? So that is an antenna. It's changing the biology of the human form, the technology, which is for millennia has been in a very certain life cycle sense. It's taking that biology out of that life cycle by changing the DNA in the body, by changing the genetic makeup of the body, and severing the connection to the life stream, in my perception, the life stream of consciousness of the planet itself. And by doing that, taking the ability of the biology and the awareness within the biology, within the lens, that being the meat suit, which is able to decode the five senses, through the five senses decode our frequency that we're in, to be able to experience this reality, that injection, or those injections per se, and there'll be more to come if they bring out a bird flu pandemic or a monkey pandemic or whatever, a horse pandemic, a turkey pandemic, whatever. If they bring out another pandemic and they roll that out again in the next 4 years, you can guarantee more injections, and the more injections mean more software updates into the biology to sever the consciousness from the ability to get back into the life stream, right? And then have the consciousness and the biology directed and having information coming from AI, which would be the intention from AI, beamed down from space everywhere you go. Elon Musk's SpaceX, all the government contracts he has. I mean, a lot of these players come across as being opposition, but they're controlled opposition in so many ways. There's so many ways in the same story. You look at where, as David Icke famously says, know the outcome and then look at the journey, and you'll see how the players are coming into positions to bring in the outcome, right? And we're looking at basically Skynet, as James Cameron showed us in the 1980s, early 90s. He showed us Skynet. That's exactly where we're heading towards. And I did a video not long ago about Studio Canal's creation of the War of the Worlds. And to me, that just seems like a plausible reality. But the one thing I'm looking at right now in regards to information coming out about people from like my friend Joe Settlewell, who's told me so much about what's going on behind the scenes in regards to the players in the administration. I'm seeing that backed up by information from Greg Reese and David Icke and other people who are looking at this and looking at the people within the administration and the supporters of the Trump administration, the Trump presidency and the run for presidency, the backers, the financial backers, all of them, not all of them, but a lot of them actually. And then some people I thought were actually on the level were anything but. They were pushing the medical intervention, whether they were aware of what their benefits, well not the benefits, whether they were aware of the fact that the actual intervention of this medical procedure was loaded with what was didn't know what the ingredients were, what the real reason behind the actual push for this was, because it was all a ruse to get that medical intervention into people's bodies, to get them talking, their bodies talking to, eventually, end game, AI, right? Bitched up to AI, a hive mind. And David Icke's been talking about this for fucking decades, because he has people coming to him, insiders, who said to him, this is where it's going to, and this is what they want to do. And I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of this, but I'm telling you what's going on. And now the proof is in the pudding. The pudding's and the ingredients are being put into the cake. And the next 4 years, we're potentially going to see that cake baked, right? But the one thing for me that's really kicked me in the ass in regards to what I've learned about this information the last 3 or 4 months, what came back was that the Pleiadians who moved through a channel by Barbara Marciniak, if you go back and read the first book, and go back to their first broadcast and their first messages coming through Barbara Marciniak, back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, what did they say? And Bringers of the Dawn. They came through Barbara Marciniak because in the future, their future, because these beings from the Pleiades, this collective consciousness from the Pleiades, who were coming through Barbara Marciniak and channeled through her, were coming to our planet and coming through us to warn us about an AI tyranny that had made its way from the Earth out of our solar system and to the Pleiades in the future. Well, what's happening now? This hit me like a lightning bolt. I was like, holy fucking shitballs. This is from Bringers of the Dawn in 1994. Well before we even heard AI in the mainstream. Well, any kind of scientific discussion that I remember. Never heard about artificial intelligence. And now we are coming into a position now with this presidency, the 47th presidency of the United States, where these puppets in this administration and the supporters of the administration, the Peter Thiels, other billionaires, I can't remember the names of any of them, to be honest with you, but who are all pushing, or Elon Musk, pushing towards moving the administration towards AI governance, removing obviously the people from the government and getting rid of them, because there's permanent in Washington. A lot of these senators and congressmen are just basically, punching their tickets on the gravy train for the people that lobby them and support them to do whatever they want, to basically pass laws for their benefit. It's a joke. It's really a joke. And if the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, was actually upheld by the people of that country a long time ago, the people would have taken the government down and said, you're fired, or worse, you're all traitors, and put them against the wall and shot the whole lot of them. I am not for violence. I'm just saying the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is to remove the government if it becomes corrupt. Well, the government's been corrupt for over a century, and the American people have done nothing about it. I'm just saying. Maybe you want to do something now before it's too late. I'm just saying I am not endorsing violence in any way, but you have the opportunity to take your country back. And I don't think, in my perception of what I understand, that your country is going to be given back to you. In fact, your country could be given to AI, and if there's another pandemic and more injections come out, you could be giving your consciousness and your biology and your technological mainframe, your bodies, over to more injections, more software updates, and eventually to be controlled by AI. Your thoughts, your emotions, everything about your existence will be controlled by the interface between AI and your biology, because the antennae, your body, the DNA, will be attuned to the AI and attuned to that frequency through technology to be able to speak to each other, to be able to speak to each other. Weapons for a silent war. Yeah. And this is not a silent war anymore. This is a war that's in your face. And it's coming. It's coming. And look, I'm all for it happening for two reasons. One, because it's out in the open and people who can wake up can see this and stop it from happening. Number one. And two, it has to happen. It has to happen, because if we have the subterfuge of this happening behind closed doors, that's something we don't want to have. We want to see it all out in the open so people have the opportunity to enact number one reason, to stop it. Because if this happens on a global scale, and I mean not just in the United States, but happens all over the world, well, there's going to be this big split at some point. There's going to be a split. And that's pretty obvious. Some people have said this already. The mystics like Gigi Young have said there's going to be a split at some point in the near future, where people will go the transhumanist path and people move towards a more organic path. And I for one don't want to have Terminator robot dogs or Terminator robots or replicants or even worse, cyborgs coming to find me, to bring me back into a place where they can inject me and bring me into a place where I am going to be part of the hive mind, part of the Borg. It's just not going to happen for me. I know that. It's not going to happen. I'm living in a very different energy and in a very different time. In fact, I'm putting my energy and my time 1,200 years into the future, into the Dwapara cycle, where I've got more virtue and more honor in my actions. So therefore, whatever's coming and whatever's transpiring with this Trump presidency, if it takes place, and if these people have their way and bring in this transhumanist dystopic nightmare, which from all accounts, with the appointment of the people in his cabinet and his administration, is heading that general direction, well, the American people and the world have got a choice to stop it. And that's our choice, to stop it. Thanks, Joe Cedarwell, for the information you've given me about this progress moving towards this dystopic AI nightmare. And you know what? Everything I've learned over the last 4 years and written about and discussed in my blogs, a lot of my videos as well, it's just information that I've collected and researched, but other people have done far more deeper work on this and have actually exposed this work. David Icke's, the Greg Reeses of the world. These people have done a lot more work in regards to exposing what's happening and how this is transpiring in our world today. So I recommend you look at their work. Once again, Greg Reese, the Reese Report for InfoWars, and also David Icke's work as well around this very important and very poignant moving forward with what we need to understand as what transpires in the next 4 years. Just say no. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te ua. I'll see you again soon.